What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Blue River Bow Hunting. I'm Brett Morse, your host. This evening, I got Cory Gelhausen. How's it going, buddy?
Well, it's going good.
So, somebody that doesn't know the Tenacious Hunter, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, the Tenacious Hunter is my own, social media platform just to show off all the hunting footage I put together, and doing hunts on video was kind of a dream of mine for forever since I was old enough to hunt. And actually, I think it was 1999. I actually killed my first deer on video.
That's awesome. You're super early on that game.
I was out. I grew up in a hunting family. It was just hunting tradition year round, like I live right now. And it was late season 1999. My dad was tagged out, and we were hunting in the a pretty iconic hardwood where my grandpa always gun hunted, and it was up in the north woods of Wisconsin. And we were walking in that was a different year. That was actually a different deer. But anyways, Joel came in and I shot it, and my dad had the video camera. It was one of them great big ones that took a VHS tape, and I was up the tree in my climber, and he was 30 yards behind me. And the bad part about the hunt is I hit her high, and she was quartering towards me. And back then I was only 13 years old, so I don't even know what I was drawing, like maybe 40 pounds or something like that.
Right.
But we didn't find the deer till we jumped her up like 3 times. My dad said, it was December, we had snow, it was cold, and he said, we'll just come back and get her in the morning. And the coyotes ate the deer the whole night before, so there was nothing left of her.
Dang.
But that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Wisconsin. Let's talk some Wisconsin. I've had several people on the show from Wisconsin. I got to come up there in 2020, Buffalo County. Man, there's just something, and I can't explain it to people because that trip almost like changed me. For the longest time, if you had asked me where I'm going to retire at, I would have told you south. Kentucky, Tennessee, somewhere in there. When I went on that trip and I come back, I told the wife, I said, when I retire, I'm retiring in Wisconsin. It was like perfect for me. Beer drinking, everybody, deer hunting's diehard, hockey. I mean, it was just like, this is where I should have been born, I feel like. But what's it mean to you to hunt in Wisconsin?
It's like I said, it was family tradition. Growing up hunting, my grandpa pretty much, he taught me the ways of the woods, and we were out year round. And my grandpa, he didn't get around the woods too well. He was getting old, and he just couldn't do the things he used to do. But my dad got me out, and we were in the summer we'd be out looking for wild ginseng and picking that. And, the whole time we're scouting deer, and learned a lot that way. And I say it's just been a family tradition since day one. I remember back before I was even old enough to hunt, just sitting back at Grandpa's house waiting for the whole deer camp to get in at night and see what they shot, and hang all the deer up in the garage, and take them all down at the end of the 9-day gun season and take pictures. And we got a great big photo album. I think it dates back to like 1979, and my uncle kept that going. And I think the buck book finally ended in like 2015, and the last picture in it says something about damn iPhones ruin everything, because nobody prints pictures anymore. Everything's on a cell phone or computer.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I don't know, just there was something about the heritage up there that really struck with me. The traditions, you could just see it all around. Even when it was still bow season when I was there, it was late October, and you could just, if I went into this little town to have dinner a couple times, and everybody was talking deer hunting at the bar, sitting there eating dinner. It's like, hey, we saw a big one running tonight, all that kind of stuff, and it was just like, man, I feel like I belong up here.
Yeah, if you would have came up here like the mid to late 90s, you probably would have moved right away, because those were the good old days when hunting heritage was strong. Nowadays it's still strong, but land access and stuff like that's getting worse. And now there's a lot of money involved when people are buying and selling property, leasing property. There's that aspect of it that's kind of put a dent in the heritage, but it's still strong in Wisconsin.
So where you're at, did you see like a lot of like outfitters and that type of thing come in, or was it more of like a leasing thing?
I've hunted public land pretty much strictly my whole life, and that's the Northwoods where we grew up. Back in the day, everybody went north to find deer because you didn't have deer down south. And even when my grandpa first moved here, he moved here from Indiana. He said there were no deer here when he first got here. That deer was all new to him, and eventually deer season came around and stuff like that. But everybody traveled north to go deer hunting for back then it was mainly gun season, and now it's kind of reversed. There's not many deer left up north, and everybody heads south, or like where you were at, they head out to the western part of the state.
Hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I worked the Indiana Deer and Turkey Expo this past weekend and got a lot of stories from a lot of people. And the one guy said he hunted like the first ever bow season in Indiana, and how there was hardly ever any deer. Really, it was like if you ever saw one, it was like, oh my god, I saw a deer type of thing. And then the DNR bringing them in. Back then, you had to draw a doe tag just to be able to hunt deer. And now you can shoot, up to 2 in a county, which is, you add all them 192 counties up, you can shoot a lot of deer just in one state.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, doe tags were unheard of, and that was something new that came around. Like, wow, you can shoot a doe, because it was always just bucks only. Even back in the day, I think you could even shoot a bear on your deer license. You didn't have to put a tag on it, but your license counted towards a bear and a buck. Because I know there was a couple pictures from back in the day. They'd have a line of deer hanging, and there'd be a bear on the end of it.
That's awesome. What do you think changed the most over the years of you watching it, as far as the DNR goes? Have they really taken a good grasp on things, or is it the opposite of that?
I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on it. Everybody points fingers and blames the DNR, but the DNR is not the ones out in the woods shooting deer. I hunt both areas, and up north they started the T zones, which there was a lot of deer, and the DNR is trying to make, and even like I grew up in Lang Lake County, and we hunted just Lang Lake County land, and it's just thousands of acres of woods that's open for you to hunt, and you can use your four-wheelers, so you can pretty much get around to a lot of different spots. So they don't want a whole pile of deer eating off everything, and they don't get any money out of the timber they're trying to grow. But then again, just because they send you a doe tag in the mail every other day doesn't mean you have to go out and shoot them. But that's the thing up north. People, they love hunting, they love shooting deer, they love eating deer, and you give them doe tags, they're gonna go out and fill them.
Right, for
Let's
sure.
see. You hear about the guys, there's no deer left up north. We used to fill the truck, 20 years ago. That's like, well, that's why we don't have them anymore. We used to fill the truck full of them.
Right.
And then even like, then you get the guys down in like where I live now in the middle part of the state. The DNR is trying to force them to shoot does, because there's just hordes of does in the central part of the state. And these guys just got it in their mind that if I got 1,000 does living on my property, I'm going to have every big buck here after the does, and they don't shoot does.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to have a good ratio if you want to really get some of those big bucks up on their feet.
yeah, and guys are learning that now. More in the farm country and the private ground, that you got to have a balance. But I remember, I think it was 2007-ish, somewhere in there. They tried the earn a buck, where you couldn't shoot a buck until you shot your doe, and you had to shoot your doe, and then they gave you a sticker, I believe, and then you had to put the sticker on your tag that made it valid for a buck. And even these guys down south here, that you still can't force me to shoot a doe. They were driving up north to where we hunted, and they'd throw a 50-pound bag of corn out, and the first fawn that showed up, they'd pick them off and take them back home and get their sticker so they can go buck hunting back on their property. So that didn't work out the way they thought.
Right. So you said that you hunt mostly public land. Talk about that public land and train features and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I say that's just what I grew up hunting, and I'd say I grew up in the Northwoods, and my family just stuck to the one piece of county land up there. And actually, I don't know if you can see, but that buck right back there, that's it's my biggest buck to date yet. I shot that one out in Buffalo County on some there's actually some public land that a township owned out there. One of my buddies found me. He was out there hunting, and I had hunted nothing but the Northwoods my whole life, and went out there and shot that monster, and that kind of opened up the door that hey, there's more public land out there if you just start looking for it.
Right.
So back in the day, it was plat books, just going through paging through plat books looking for the green and yellow highlighted squares that you could hunt. That was either DNR, or, county land of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 3 different county plat books that I used to go through. And then, of course, all the apps came out, which made it a whole lot easier for me and
Right.
everyone else to find the good spots.
Right. When I went up there, it was I was hunting that bluff country there in Buffalo County, which
That's
it
where I shot this one was on a bluff.
yeah, that stuff is unreal compared to what I'm used to hunting here with my ag and my patch woods. It's a whole lot different. Is that what you're mostly hunting is bluffs, or it's mostly big woods that you're hunting?
Mine's, most people consider the big woods up north where, it's just 30 to 50,000 acres of endless timber. But even like where I live right here, it's, if you blow it up on Google and look at it, it's scattered fields, and it's not like where you got a 120-acre field and then a little patch of 20 acres of woods next to it. You got, a 120-acre field and you got 120 or 200-acre woods next to it. So it's still big, tracts of timber where, a buck can go 4 or 5 miles and never have to leave the cover of the woods. He's just got to survive a couple of roads. It's not like he's got to cross big open fields to get from one point to the other.
Right.
And
What about ag? Is there a ton of ag in the area?
yeah, it's a lot of ag. Like right out here behind the house, I got 80 acres I can hunt on here, and we had 5 bean fields and a cornfield and an alfalfa field just on that 80. So yeah, there's a lot of ag around here. But like I say, it's not like other states where it's all ag and little wood lots. I mean, you've got just as much timber standing right next to the ag field as ag country you got. Which we grow a lot of big deer around here because they got spots to hide.
Right.
We live in a spectacular area here for growing big bucks in the central part of the state.
Yeah, I am too, but I have to hunt those ag and the little patch woods. That's kind of my bread and butter. I've traveled even to southern Indiana and hunted some of that big woods, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't like super hard, but it wasn't what I was used to, which I think makes you a better hunter in the end when there's certain things that you need to be looking for and that kind of stuff. And then when I got to my little bitty woods, it was like, oh well, I didn't notice this before, and stuff like that helped me almost transition a little bit. But do you guys put any food plots back here behind your place?
Yeah, I just moved in with my girlfriend about a year ago here, so I did food plots this last fall, and uh, this little chunk we got back here, it's mostly ag. I think there's 4 little patches of woods that are like, 4 or 5 acres a piece and not much cover. They've never been logged, so I mean, you can see right through them.
Right.
And it was a learning curve last year. I'm still learning this. I really didn't hunt it, that much. I pretty much just blasted the whole thing full of trail cameras back here and kept an eye on things. And the only time I hunted back here was after work when I only had, 2 hours to hunt. And then, like during rut, I went back there and sat in a ground blind a couple of times just to stay dry and keep my camera gear dry.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning this back here, but my issue isn't food. It's cover is what my problem is. Because then you go to the neighbor's house down the road here, and they've got probably a 250 acres of just solid cedar swamp. So that's just a great big vacuum that sucks in all the deer when the hunting pressure starts up. And why would a deer leave there? They can go down there and they got that many acres of cedar swamp to hide in that you can't see more than 25 yards. So
Right. Talk about not just only the property there behind you, but the other stuff that you're hunting. Talk about how you're scouting these properties.
I like the bigger chunks of public land. You hear a lot of guys talking about the small pieces that are overlooked. And I've walked just about every little piece here in the 5 counties I hunt, just looking for that gem of overlooked public land. And there's nothing up here that's not overlooked. Even if nobody's hunting it, there's people in there looking.
Hmm.
And And I like sticking to the bigger chunks. If I show up and there's a couple trucks in the parking lot, I got an idea where they're at or where the guys are hunting, and I can head the other direction and get away from them. Just because I'm driving so far, it's not like you drive to a parking lot and if there's people hunting here, to get in the truck and go someplace else, you don't have time to do that.
Right.
That's a me when you're walking, half mile to a mile and a half back in, you're pretty much committed to that spot because you don't have time to go anywhere else.
Right.
And I like hitting all kinds of different areas. Um, the one piece of public I hunt, I'd say it's the hills is where I do the best, but it's got a big swamp that kind of goes right through the middle of it. But I think the reason I do so good in the hills is the guys that do hunt it, they all run down to that swamp because they think that's where all the deer are hiding. But in reality, they're bedding up higher on watching everybody down low move through, and then they can just get back into the thicker stuff on the private land if they get bumped or they bed up right on the edge of the private land and the thicker stuff.
Right. Well, that leads me kind of in my next question. I'm kind of gonna go through the seasons with you: early season, rut, late season, kind of scenarios. So early season, say you're hitting the public with the swamp in it. What's your early season approach on some of these places?
Early season is tough around here because a lot of the pieces of public they don't have they don't butt right up against the ag field. And if they do, they all stand out on Onyx. So anybody that's hunting early season, they're all there. I mean, yeah, the egg field's going to draw deer in, but it's also going to draw in all the hunters because they've got it's public land. They got the ability to hunt right next to it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what they watch all the guys on TV doing is hunting the field. So that's where they go.
Right.
So early season, it's one of the things you got to do. You got to scout the other hunters and see where they're at, and just kind of cross them spots off the map. And then I just go off, past experiences where I know deer are, and you just got to bump around. And acorns aren't a for sure thing here. Like one of my, it's used 3 years, and it's been crap for acorns, so the hunting hasn't been that great.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you just got to stay on the move because, like I say, one spot that it's dynamite this year, you might show up there the next year and there's half dozen guys in there hunting. So you just got to keep on the move, and just keep checking everything out until you find something that works.
Right.
I don't do great early season here. I really struggle. It seems like in the summertime, I'll do great for velvet, trail cam pictures and video. I'll get some real tanks, but as soon as bow season opens and people hit the woods, that little bit of pressure stirs them up, and then you got to start all over again.
Yeah. Is something early season like that? Are you, since it's public, are you pushing the issue at all, trying to get maybe close to buck bedding, or using some of those ridge systems you think that they're bedding on? You getting close to that, or are you still kind of playing off of those systems?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you want to get as close to where they're bedding because they're not going to move far in early season.
Right.
And I've got spots that I know where deer bed, but like I say, nothing's consistent. And the buck bedding is tough. There's just and it's not. I wouldn't blame the hunting pressure, but you got so many guys just out in the woods scouting. You get a mile and a half back, and you get away from the hunters, but you'll still have on trail cam, you'll have guys just walking through scouting. And I think they wander back there and it looks great, but then when they throw the tree stand on their back and their bow and everything and start to hike, and they run out of gas before they get back there.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably my biggest obstacle is trying to avoid the people that are just out in the woods looking around. And I've got real big into mock scrapes. I really like, if I got a deer in an area, usually I say we've got so, like I said before, we've got so much good deer habitat here. They're usually off on private land bedding, and you got to try to get them when they cross the public going to some sort of food source. But I've been really getting into mock scrapes and throwing a mock scrape at them and try and challenge them to get them out there in the daylight and get a shot at them.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a great tactic to roll with. What kind of products are you using on these mock scrapes?
Nothing.
Nothing, just pissing in it.
Yeah, I say I just I tried mock scrapes in the past, but I would just, find a good spot in the woods or a bunch of runaways, come together and look around and find a branch that looked good for an overhanging branch and break it off and leave it hanging. It might not be right in the middle of the runway. It might be 10, 20 feet off. And if it's 10, 20 feet off, then bucks aren't going to go use it. But I was actually hunting it was the biggest buck of my life. I was hunting him 2018 through 2020. I was after him for 3 years, and I had him pinpointed right where he was bedding. And it was on private land, and it's just like, I know right where he's at because all the trail cam pictures where he's coming onto the public, point to that spot. And then in the summertime, you drive down there, and there was one spot where you could park and look back in over this hill, and you could see him and other bucks feeding out there. So you knew that's where he was at. And that's when I started, getting big into the mock scrapes. I started watching all the YouTube videos and podcasts and, getting into how to build the best mock scrapes to try and challenge him to come out. And it worked. I mean, I had him on every mock scrape I had in there except for the one area. I had him surrounded in mock scrapes, and he hit four, when it was a four, yeah, 4 out of the 5 that I had, strategically placed to hunt him. Just never got him in the daylight. 2019, I had him once in the daylight. He showed up, I think it was October 26th, and that was the only daylight pictures I got of him. But, just from that 2019, that first year, really getting into the mock scrapes, I got addicted to it for how much, intel and bucks I had hitting it.
For sure. I had this one property. It had a like a community scrape on it, and I knew it was there, but I never. When you're young and dumb, you make stupid decisions. I never put a trail. I mean, I did. I put a trail camera on, but not close enough to really get a good inventory. And then, light bulbs went up. And I'm putting pieces together as I'm getting older with a lot more experience. And I put a camera over it, and I was dumbfounded on the bucks that I saw in that community scrape that I didn't have on the other camera that was 300 yards down the wood line, and then I was chasing a big buck, and he was hitting that community scrape like every 3 or 4 days. I didn't really understand his timeline or where exactly he was coming from, because it's a small piece. It's like 34 acres or something like that. I've been hunting it for a really long time. I knew what direction he was coming from, but I didn't know exactly where he was coming from. And as of 2021, he just disappeared. He was every bit of 185-ish, 190 inches. I would have known if somebody killed him or if he got hit by a car. I know a lot of people and farmers in the area, but I know what it's like to chase those big bucks and have multiple years after him, man. That it can almost get stressful. I lose sleep over it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that first year that big one I was hunting was gone. It's like you walk on the woods, you kind of felt like a part of you was missing because you had one goal of mine in the last 3 years, and now he's gone.
Yeah,
so that's like this where you mentioned before. You had pictures of a buck passing by. Every so many days. I've never had a deer pattern like that. So I say where I live here, it's ag country, but it's 50-50 woods, ag, and the deer, they got more of a characteristic of a big woods deer. They might only hit that scrape, 1, 2, 3 times a month, and then, the following year you try and base your hunts off. They say if you get a buck in daylight on a scrape, the following year he's probably going to be in daylight on that scrape again, within a 2-3 day window there. And I've never found that to be the case for me. But also again too, just to get a deer to show up 2-3 years in a row it's tough to do. Whether they get killed or food sources change. If they're feeding on a cut cornfield by the public land, and then the next year that cut corn or cut beans isn't there, and they wander 6 miles away and find a different spot to live out the winter, they might never come back. They just decide, what, I'm safe here, why go back, and they just live someplace else.
Yeah, it's crazy here. Like right after like that chase and lockdown phase, like right after the lockdown phase, when we really get a good rut here in Indiana, in this patchwoods kind of flat ag hunting, you'd be surprised how much they travel in just a couple day period. I'd have him on camera in a spot, and the guy 8 miles down the road have the same deer on picture multiple days in a row, and it's just like you can't believe how much they travel in that time period.
Yeah. Even when I was hunting that big one, I had cameras. I had the area just loaded with cameras trying to figure him out, and I had a couple other bucks. They were traveling 600 yards in 20 minutes, and there's two ridges in between. So whether they were going straight up and over or around them, I mean, they were definitely power walking to get from one scrape to the other to make it as far as they were in that short amount of time.
Yeah, this past year, 2022 season, a deer we got done on camera. My buddy Adam shot a 130 the day before gun season, and the day before he had hit a scrape, he saw him and said, "Hey, let's put a stand up over here and let's get close to him. I only got a glimpse of him. Let's see what he's like." And he ended up shooting him the next day. The day after we hung the stand, and got up in there that next morning, we shot him. But he was going. I mean, he shot him 20 yards from him being at that scrape, and I've never really had success hunting near a scrape. I mean, that's not why we were sitting where we were sitting, but it helped for sure.
Usually, like up here, you find a community scrape. It's there for a reason, and it's tough to hunt. To hunt over the scrape, it's hard because there's a reason it's there. The deer can come there and they can it's some kind of a thermal hub or some kind of a hub where all the wind is blowing right to that scrape and they can smell everything around, and it makes it tough to hunt.
For sure.
It's like back to the mock scrape thing. I started using the vertical licking sticks or licking vines, whatever you're going to call them. And up north, we didn't have the vines. And probably as watching, Whitetail Habitat Solutions, he was bragging about how great the vines that Jeff Sturgis, how great vines work. And I've never seen a vine in my life, and stumbled upon, it seems like around CRP and, kind of open grassy stuff. You get brushy fence rows. That's where I find vines around here. And I found a vine. I thought, well, I got to try these vines. And it's just, I don't know. They must just hold scent better than other pieces of wood. And even when you cut them, when they're green, the water just comes dumping out of them. They're definitely a different piece of wood. And, I'll hang fresh vines up, and the does love them. They just come in there and they'll eat all the bark off and strip them clean and, load them up full of scent.
That's awesome. I've never really seen the vine thing in action. I would like to try it out myself. I got a couple places that I got access to vines like that.
That's like everybody, I post all the videos and pictures with these bucks on mock scrapes, and people ask how you do it. And you almost got to just not think deer hunting. You got to think trapper. You're setting a trap out in the middle of 800 acres. Where are you going to put this trap? And, a coyote or something's going to step right in. And, it's no different. You got to hang that vine in the woods where, the buck you're after, or every buck in the area, when they walk through, they're going to, run their face right into this vine without going around it.
That's awesome. So exactly how do you set one of those up? Are you tying it to something, or just is that
Get
what
creative, whatever works, run a piece of paracord from one tree to another and get that vine hanging right in the middle of where runways meet, and also terrain. If it's out in the middle of nowhere, you're going to get pictures of a deer, but not till at night. I'll find spots that replicate hub scrapes that I found in the past, where all the deer use, where I'll walk through and be like, this would be a great spot for a scrape, but there's no overhanging branch here, so that's why the deer don't have one there. But then you give them one, and then they start hitting it. And it's just crazy how great they use it.
I'm gonna have to try that this year.
My favorite one that I've been doing lately is, I made a video on it where I'll find a tree and I'll just bend the tree over, tie the top of the tree off to something else. You got this like hoop shape. Well, then you got all the cover of them branches there, and I think that makes the deer feel a lot more comfortable because they got all that cover there.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks a lot natural because you got that vine hanging there instead of just some suspended stick in the middle of the air going from one tree to the other.
Right.
Even where like I tie my vine off to the the rope in the middle. If I'm running, looks like a clothesline. Set up there I'll zip tie or tie some branches up there just to give it a little more realistic look. But if I can get away with, tying one tree off to the other and making that hoop shape and putting the vine underneath there, that works best for me.
Gotcha.
Plus,
So
and then if you're hunting over it too, a buck gets in that scrape, it's just more cover for you to get drawn back on him while he's down there working the scrape.
for sure. So I ask you about the early season. So when that sweet spot gets here, and it's the first week in November, how are you attacking these pieces?
Uh First part of November is probably it's gotten to be my most disliked time of season to hunt because I feel just like the deer. I've had the woods all to myself up until this point, and now there's just freaking people everywhere. And that's pretty much what it boils down to is, you figure out where the people are and you just get the hell away from them. It's tough. And then you get all the gun hunters, they're just, guys that just strictly gun hunt and they decide, well, gun season's coming, the rut's here, we got to go and see where the deer are at. And they're out scouting all over the place. The woods, November is tough around here. That's the first part of November. It's just loaded full of people, and I'm not a fan of it. I hunt it, but you got to just roll with what you get. You'd have all these plans for early November, and this is what I'm going to do, and then you get out there and there's cars and trucks parked everywhere and people wandering, scouting, hunting, and you just gotta usually I have a target buck in mind, and I'm going to that piece of property and trying to hunt them the best I can.
So you're dealing with a lot of high pressure, is what you're saying.
That's the worst. That's the worst time that there's hunting pressure is the first part of November.
Yeah.
I'd say the rest of the year you're pretty good, but that first part of November, the woods is just crazy. That and gun season, but gun season, wherever you go, it's crazy. Whether you're hunting private or public land in Wisconsin, the whole state's full of woods in
Right.
gun season.
I want to experience an opening weekend of gun season in Wisconsin. I want to be on private.
Yeah, even the private land. I mean, it's there's hunters everywhere. It's crazy.
People doing deer drives and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
They don't do as many deer drives as they used to, but that's thanks to trail cameras. Back in the day, you didn't know what was living down in the swamp. You went down there and make a deer drive to figure it out. Now you just surround it in cell cameras, and you know exactly what's living there, so you don't need to do a deer drive.
Right. What kind of cameras are you using? What products are you using as far as your
I use
cameras?
a little bit of everything. I got the Cuddy-back system or the Cuddy Link system with the Cuddy-back cameras here behind the house just because it's cheap. I can put up a bunch of cameras and are definitely not my favorite cameras. I've been I was patiently waiting. I'm impatiently waiting for the L series to come out. They were supposed to be out a year ago and they still haven't launched them. There was a big screw up there.
Mm-hmm.
So you haven't been able to get Cuddy-backs. The Tacticams are probably my favorite. I had a handful of those. And I also ran, everybody hated the Spy Point cell links, but I love them.
I got a couple of them.
I've had a few issues with them, but it's usually just a firmware update fixed it so far. I've never had anything besides that. And I got big into the white flash pictures. I bought some covert Hollywoods last year, and you can get them on eBay for $100. And they take beautiful white flash pictures, and I haven't noticed that the camera's scaring the deer at all.
Mm-hmm.
If any kind of camera scares a deer, it's an IR flash. That IR flash, and especially I think an IR flash running in video mode, they pick that out, and it spooks them.
Yeah, for sure.
You think about it, that white flash, it's one flash of bright light, and it's so bright you don't even know which direction it came from. It's
Right.
it's like lightning at night, where if you got a camera mounted up on a tree and you got the that IR, they see that little red glow over there. Or if you got on video mode, it lights up and stays on. I've had them on video mode, and the deer, they just turn and they just stare right at that black IR.
Yeah. What about late season? Is late season better on the public? The pressure died down a little bit, or is it still pretty high pressure?
No, that's all screwed up here. Like I was talking late season before, up north. Late season used to be one of my favorite times to hunt. I mean, up north when you could bait, you started baiting, you'd had just tons of deer showing up, or your late season hunting on a ag field, the hunting was awesome. But now they they run so many doe seasons here in Wisconsin now through December. It's kind of screwed up the whole late season. You got gun season, they got muzzleloader season, and then they do a 4-day doe hunt only. So if you're hunting weekends like me, there's another weekend shot where you can't even go out and hunt the buck, and the deer are out there, and that's when the guys are doing the deer drive. So they're really putting the pressure on now because they're just out there to fill the freezer shooting anything without antlers.
Right.
And then I got lucky. The county I live in, that was it for the doe hunts. But then there's a holiday hunt that starts again on like the 23rd or 24th of December, and then that runs to the 1st, and that's just more, that's another stretch of late season that's does only. You can't shoot a buck. So it depends on what county you live in. Where the counties I hunt here, it's a lot of doe hunting. And by then, just that first 9 days of gun season, it's just so crazy, and so many people in the woods, the deer get stirred up so bad. To this day, I've never found a spot where I can go out after gun season and throw a camera up and get some pictures of some nice bucks. They're either dead or pushed back into thick private property where they're not going to get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talk about Tenacious Hunter. Talk about how you started it, why you started it.
Well, like I said before, I always wanted to do the hunts on video, and me and a couple of friends, we started doing hunts on video back in probably around 2007-ish. And I actually bought, it was the Canon XL1. That was the camera to have back in the day, and I picked one up off of eBay, and that thing was huge. It had the camera body that took the little mini VHS tapes, and then it had the great big like DSLR lens on it.
Mm-hmm.
And started off with that. Everybody's, let's do these hunts on videos, and the couple guys I had doing it with me. But then rut rolls around, and it's like, well, I don't want to sit in a cameraman stand and record somebody else shooting a deer while I got a tag in my pockets. And then once late October, November rolled around, it was kind of divide and conquer. And then I went off on my own and just started doing hunts on video on YouTube. And I think I bought 3 or 4 like Midland just the POV cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And 2012, 2013, killed a couple bucks on camera just using those. And then 2014, I got on the Wisconsin Whitetail Pursuit DVD. And we did that for 2 years. And how DVDs went, that's kind of a thing of the past now.
Right.
And then when the Wisconsin Whitetail Pursuit thing started to fizzle out there, that's when I branched off on my own and just started my own thing on YouTube. And I wish I would have just done that way back in 2010 when I had first got serious about it, because I'd be a lot farther along than I am right now, because there wasn't anybody doing it back then.
That's what I was gonna say. I wish I would have got into it back then too, like early to mid 2000s, and then just built on it later on. I never thought I would get this deep. I mean, I always wanted to do it, but I never thought I would really be this deep into it. I mean, I'm behind the camera 90% of deer season, filming my buddies or filming myself. I'm not a huge self-filming guy. It's just not something I enjoy that much, but I enjoy being behind the camera just as much as I do being behind my weapon.
Yeah, I definitely do too. I'm on the same page where, but the self-filming thing, I've been doing it for so long. It's natural for me to do. And,
right.
I'm sneaking in trying to get tight. It's hard enough doing that with one person. You got 2 people trying to do it, and then you got all this B-roll and stuff that people are doing. And if you're gonna do that, you gotta just set aside some time of day and just go do it in some random spot in the woods. I'm not gonna be doing that in
right.
the spots I'm in there trying to kill a deer.
Yeah, I think I struggle with that quite a bit during deer season, is getting that B-roll. Like if I'm sitting in the stand and I'm bored or something, I see like a squirrel playing around, I'll film him for a second just to have a little something, or the wind blowing some trees around or whatever. I try to get a little bit in there.
Yeah.
But I think I'm terrible at getting like that interview, like driving to the woods or talking about what you're about to do or whatever. I'm terrible. I like to show up, get in the stand, and let's start rolling. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty decent about doing that, but just the the more cinematic stuff you get if you got a cameraman, getting, I'm hunting out of, sticks and a hang on all the time that I'm putting up and taking down every time I go in the woods,
Right. So
just
you're
getting
just carrying
just,
so much stuff in there.
just getting B-roll, stuff like that, or, as you're scouting your way in, checking out sign, it would just look so much better if you had a cameraman, but that's just, one more guy making noise, one more guy, laying scent down in the woods, stuff like that. So, it's got its, pluses and minuses to having a cameraman.
For sure. For sure.
My issue lately is, I got hordes of video. It's, sitting down here and finding time to edit the stuff is my issue.
Yeah, I found a big problem with that the past month or so. I was trying to put my Michigan turkey video together, and put it together, and I wish I would have really focused. I mean, I did really focus in on it, but once I put it out and I watched it a couple times, I'm like, I could have done this, and this different. I stayed on this bird too long, that kind of thing. But I had so much video of those hunts up there. I just tried to share with it as much as I could without showing you 45 minutes worth of film. You know what I mean?
That's to me, I'll sing. I used to, get big into editing. I'd throw, trying to find the right song and music to, add to this scene. And it was just I was just putting so much time into it. It was just, I didn't have the time. I could never get anything done.
Yeah.
So I've kind of, lately avoided that. Because I would get too, like, when the beat of the music changes, I want this to happen on the screen, and I got the slider bar in my editing software, shrunk down to like the half second, so I can get stuff
Right.
lined up perfectly. And I wanted it so perfect. It's tough for me to find time to just edit everything.
Yeah.
And I gave it a try last year. This past year I was gonna try and put out a YouTube video every week, if not, for two. I want to do bi-weekly for sure, but if I could get out every weekly, and I think that lasted till, I don't know. I think I put out 3 videos. And it's like, yeah, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't really like. I'll have like three or four hunts I can put together on a film, but it's basically like the whole month of October. If we're not shooting does or anything, there's not a whole lot going on. I mean, yeah, we're seeing deer, but it's not like super exciting action. You know what I mean?
I mean, if I would have been, having 1,000 people watch it, I would have, definitely, sacrificed stuff here and there to make it happen. But I'm having 100 to 200 views on these videos. It's like, yeah, this isn't worth my time. I got better things I could be doing out in the woods, trying to, kill a big buck instead of sitting home editing video that 200 people are going to see.
Right. Absolutely. Do you have any of your? Sorry. Go
that's
ahead,
the hardest part is, trying to, the whole Tenacious Hunter thing. We're trying to get it take off, but there's just so many people out there doing it now. I wish I would have started a lot earlier.
For sure. Do you have any buddies that like to do that sort of thing with you that would help you out?
There's me and my friend Johnny and Jeff. We do all the footage, but we all live so far apart. I see him once a year if I'm lucky. It's mostly just talking on the phone and through social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that makes it tough. We all live so far apart. Me and Johnny, if we lived closer together, we could really do some good stuff together. But we're 3.5 hours apart, which makes it tough.
You talked a second ago about having sticks and a hang on. Is that how you're approaching public land?
Yeah, I say I grew up hunting on the climbers my whole life, and that's pretty much all I ever hunted out of was climbers. Up north during gun season, the whole family got together and everybody had their spot. They went and hunted, and that was the only time of year that we hunted out of. Back in the day, they used to just go out there with whatever wood they could scrounge up around the house, and they'd build a platform up in a crotch of a tree, and that's what you hunted out of.
Right.
But then those days of them stands went away, and everybody either made like my dad, he had a homemade hang on that he hunted out of with a homemade wooden swivel seat he put on, and then he bought me it was like $100 sling seat thing and put a shooting rail on it for me. So gun season, we had our spot that we sat, and we just sit the full 9 days in the one spot, just waiting for a buck to come through. And then the sticks and the the run and gun type stuff started showing up, and then I got into that. But when them first showed on the scene, it was like I want to say 2013 or 2014 when Muddy came out with those first, run and gun stick setups and stand setups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were nice, but they were heavy. They were, clunky. They made a bunch of noise. They didn't go onto the tree quiet. And, I tried that a couple hunts a year, just never liked it and got back into the um, climber. And it was probably 2018 was probably the last time I used the climber and just switched strictly to the sticks and the hang on just because you can hunt anywhere. It doesn't
Right.
matter if the tree's straight, crooked, you can get up there with sticks and hang on and hunt wherever you need to.
For sure. Have you thought about going the saddle hunting route?
I love the saddle. I got one. We got the whole tethered setup
Mm-hmm.
and super comfortable. I mean, I like it for comfort. It's, I would say it's more comfortable in tree stand. I'm a big guy. I'm
Same.
6'3" and 300 pounds. And, you get up there in that saddle and then they got and they call it the MVP now that goes around your back, but I had I still got the older version, whatever they called it then. It was like the recliner or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's what I
I,
got on mine, man. I can do without it for the most part, but on them long all day sits, you throw that thing in there, it's like, oh, it just takes that
yeah.
pressure off of you. You're like, oh my god, it feels so much better.
I mean, all day sits, you want to take a nap, you can just turn sideways and get up against the tree in that saddle and take a nap, and you don't have to worry about falling out of the tree because you can just cinch that recliner up nice and tight. You're only going to go this far back, and a tree stand, you're sitting there in a platform, and you're hunting, doing all day hunts in the rut, and you want to take a nap. I mean, all I can do is kind of tuck down like this or tip your head back on the tree and hope you don't tip off the seat while you're sleeping and wake up hanging by your safety harness.
Right.
Yeah, I love my saddle and like gun season. That's my favorite time to use it because you got that tree right in front of you here. So you got gun rests on both sides to shoot. And even if a deer's here, you can lean back and drop down into your bridge and shoot. And even me, I've taken my gun and I'll, pinch it right down between my bridge and my chest. And I can just sit here like this and turn him, my gun's right there the whole time.
Yeah,
But
this was my first full year. I loved it. And it's ironic because I hunted out of it a lot. But then with the day that I shot my buck, I actually was in a preset hang on. And I was like, man, I really wanted to get it done. Get it done out of this saddle just to say I've at least done it once. But when we filmed Adam's buck, he was in a lock on, and I was on my in my saddle just off to the side of him. It was awesome, man. I kind of fell in love with saddle hunting, really.
I say I like it, but it's anywhere as a tree stand is. It seemed to me you still had to find some sort of a tree. And I'm always, I grew up, you want some sort of backdrop behind you, and to try and find, I'll get up in these, pine trees around here, and you're completely surrounded in branches, and to try and shoot out of a saddle with that, it's just too much movement for bow hunting for me. I've tried to bow hunting a couple times, and I wish it would work, but I don't know if it's the deer up here that's just any little movement, and you have to move so much to shoot out of a saddle.
Right.
Where at the tree stand, you got your back up against the tree and your bow's right in front of you here. I mean, you can hide that movement. Where with the saddle, and you see all the epic pictures of the guy hunting out of a saddle, and he's got his foot up on the platform and he's shooting back out of the tree, and
Right.
that never happens in real life. In real life, you got the tree in front of you, and you're trying to peek around and shoot out of your saddle, and I don't know. I've been up there in the saddle, just hanging off the side of the tree like this, just turning my head, just a little bit, watching deer walk by, and it's like they'll be out there 50 yards, and it's like they see you hanging off the side of the tree, and I haven't figured out how to hide in a saddle yet, and it just hasn't worked for me for bow hunting.
Yeah.
But then gun hunting, I don't have to be in that tree. If I got to move 15, 20 yards this way or that way to get up in a comfortable tree with a saddle, I can do that because I can shoot 200 yards.
For sure. Tell us about your 2022 season. How'd your 22 season pan out?
Went spectacular. I didn't kill nothing, but it was an awesome hunting season. Early season, was a struggle as usual. Behind the house here was good. I had standing corn, and I let a couple of decent bucks go back there that, if they made it through, they'll be nice ones this year. But out in the public land, it was kind of the same thing. I had some really nice bucks in velvet, and deer seasoned open, and they started disappearing. And I got one spot narrowed down that I have. There's two spots that I stick to on my public land hunting that are good early season, and then mid October they go to, I don't know, they go to junk. I don't know why. I haven't figured it out. I think it's pressure. I think same thing. The people hit the woods and they push them out. And every year I get decent bucks on camera there. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll have a shooter standing there in front of my camera, but I'm always at work. I can just never, there's, like I said, there's no pattern to them up here. It's just random movement. Which there might be a pattern there, but if the camera's not picking it up, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and then that's like the one. There's this really nice 12 pointer I had on camera this year, and I had two mock scrapes set for him, and he hit the one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm sitting there watching on my phone. I'm like, crap, I wish I'd have been in that tree. And I'm at work. There's nothing I can do about it. Then a half hour before dark, he wandered down the swamp, and he's standing in front of the other one. I could have killed him out of either tree that day.
Oh wow, yeah, that always sucks. I think that's the. I mean, it's not really that big of a negative, but the one negative I hate about having cell cams, it's noon and you're at lunch or something at work, and you look down at your phone and you got all kinds of pictures of bucks. It's like, man, yeah, I got to wait till 4 o'clock to get, or whatever, 2:30 in my case,
Yeah.
but some people have to stay at work a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, I like to sell cams. Just so I say, I'm hunting 5 different counties, and you know, you watch the pictures all week. You got an idea where to point the truck Saturday morning when you get up at 3 in the morning to go someplace. Because if you're getting does on this camera, go there. If you got a picture of a person on this other spot, to leave that spot alone. It's just, it's nice to have something like that when you only have 2 days to hunt. It just gets you in the right direction to hopefully see some deer and get on a buck.
Right. What's in store for this year? What do you got lined up? You just staying in state, Wisconsin? You going anywhere?
I don't know. I've only got so many vacation days to work with, and I would like to go out of state this year, but I don't have any time this spring to get out and scout anything. My schedule's just packed this spring, and I kind of don't want to go blow money on a tag just going in blind someplace with no scouting done. I'll probably do the same as I did last year for sure. We got Fort McCoy. I did that hunt with the hunting beast, and there was Dan Infalt was there, and he was kind of running the show, and then the couple of guys from Tether were there, Lou from Stealth Outdoors, and the Exodus guys were there.
That's
And
pretty cool.
that kind of, that was another eye opener there and a door open to another spot to hunt for, and that you can get an extra buck tag and go hunt down there, and it's only a 2 hour drive from the house.
That's awesome.
And we did a lot of scouting there, so I kind of got an idea there. And that was kind of last year. I bought a tag for down there, and was just that was plan B. If I tagged out here and had time to go hunt, I was going to go down there and do that. So that'll be for sure this year. Same plan. I was kicking around the idea of going to Minnesota for their shotgun season because it's so early.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to, if it doesn't happen this spring, find a weekend this summer that I get over there and at least see the ground and see what it looks like, and not just rely on my scouting on Onyx.
I feel like maybe it's just because I'm from the Midwest. I feel like Minnesota kind of gets overlooked. I feel like it can be a pretty good buck state.
Yeah, it definitely is. I feel it's kind of like Wisconsin. There's a lot of big bucks shot there, but it's just everybody hunts, and if they don't put it on Facebook, you don't hear about it. Like even that giant that I was hunting, back 2018 to 2020, I was after him for 3 years. He got killed in gun season the first day of the 2020 gun season. And one of my buddies that lives in the area and knows he's kind of my secret to information down there, because he knows everybody and everybody knows he's a big buck hunter. So he ended up getting a picture texted to him. He's like, "Yep, the deer got killed on opening day," and sure enough, so I got a picture of it dead. It's dead, but that was it. Where did it go? It's in somebody's basement someplace, and you'll never hear about it.
Yeah, right. How big? How big we talking? How big
Well,
was that?
he was 180 all day when he got killed.
Dang.
He was a perfect perfect 7, but he was a 6x6, but he's actually a perfect 7x7 because he had split G3s on both sides.
Nice.
Yeah, I got one shed off that deer too, and it's actually his 2018 shed, and I didn't find it till spring of 2020.
Dang.
And I don't know where. And I'd walked that area, and I walked right by it, but we had a big windstorm go through, and it just flattened a bunch of trees. So I don't know if it was just covered up in brush from all the wind that blew the trees down, and then something drug it out. But it was right in a spot that I walked, and it just sucked. I didn't find it when it was fresher because it was chewed up pretty bad when I did find it. But yeah, it was kind of cool to have one shed off that deer.
Absolutely, for sure. Uh, you're a big turkey hunter too, right? You're getting on them big long beards this spring.
Yeah, I say that's what I've been thinking about most years, getting out turkey hunting, and that's new to me. Growing up north, there was zero turkeys. We didn't have any turkeys, and then I want to say it was like 2005 was the first turkey season up where I grew up. And I went out hunting with one of my friends, and I had the video camera along back in 2005, and was going to get him on video shooting turkey, and of course we never even saw one. We didn't know what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and then probably 2014 I started getting back into the turkey hunting, and 2014, 2015 was all learning curve. Saw a bunch of turkeys, never shot nothing, and then 2016 when I really started. I actually bought some nice decoys. I think that made a difference. I was using the cheap $20 decoys and just you know Fleet Farm box call and slate call, and bought some nice decoys that looked realistic and got real good at mouth calling, and that was kind of the game changer there.
Anybody from Indiana, my local guys that listen to this show, they're gonna say Fleet Farm. What's Fleet Farm? It's basically like our Rural King here. I think it's basically kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. Yeah, turkey hunt, man. It's definitely fills my void for adrenaline in the spring for sure. I always miss deer hunting so much. But do you do it with a gun or do you do it with a bow too?
I I do with the gun. I'd like to shoot one with the bow, and I've been trying for years, but I don't know. I'm cursed. There's some kind of spell cast on me that I can't shoot one with the bow. I'll go out there with a shotgun, and I'll do calling, and I'll have two toms run up 10 yards away, and he could kill them both. And I leave the shotgun home, and I take the bow out, and I can't get a turkey within 200 yards of me.
Right.
And
That's kind of how I feel too.
then I get ticked off. I throw the bow back in the case and grab the gun and go out there, and I don't even call. And I got one running up, down near pecking on the end of the barrel. It's just I don't know. Last year I thought I had it. I thought I finally broke the curse. It was the first day I didn't hunt. I had to take I guess I did hunt in the afternoon a little while, but the hunting conditions were crap.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get out opening morning. I'd take the kids to daycare and school, and then went out the second day, and Tom came in perfect. And man, I was watching back the Tacticam footage. I had over the shoulder Tacticam going, and I must have drew back on that turkey 7, 8 times because he just would never hold still. And finally shot, and the shot looked great. But when he took off out of there, he took off like a rocket. And I thought, man, that didn't look good. That turkey shouldn't have been moving that fast if he was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hunting with my buddy Tim Hinkie, and he was across the swamp behind me, sitting on the neighbor's food plot that we had permission to hunt. That was where he shot his turkey the year before, so he was, ready to get right back in that spot. And texted him I shot one. And he's, well, you gonna come help you? I said, no, I don't want to screw your hunt up, and I'll go look myself. And the arrow was covered in blood where he ran off the field and went about 30 yards and down a little hill, and then it was all like back towards Tim. It was just solid tag alders and tamarack swamp, just super thick, and it was covered in snow yet. And the blood was just spraying until he hit the edge of the woods there, and the arrow pulled out, and then that was it. We couldn't find nothing after that.
Dang.
And I looked for an hour and finally texted him. I said, I don't know where he's at. And him and I looked for another 4 hours. And, on the snow there, if he was bleeding, it would have been easy to see. So we think he just got airborne there and flew off someplace, and we don't know where he went.
That sucks.
But even when Tim showed up, I'm playing back the footage on the camera, and he's looking in the blind there, and he's like, oh, dead turkey. And he didn't have to watch it, more than once. He just seen the arrow come. I paused it, and I was going frame by frame, just clicking it, and you could just watch that arrow going in there. It hits the turkey. Yep, dead turkey. Let's go find him. And we went and looked for 4 hours, and we couldn't find that turkey. I don't know where he went.
Yeah, most people don't realize, when we talk bow hunting turkeys, that you're what you're aiming for. Their vitals is it's
And they don't
like
hold
that.
still either. They're usually moving the whole time.
Right. I tried it a couple years ago in Missouri bow hunting. Killed one with a gun last year in Michigan. I'm going back to Michigan. I'll probably just take the gun again, but I'm going to West Virginia this year. I'm going with my buddy Troy Delaney. He's a huge traditional bow guy. We're gonna get in the double bull and see if we can pull it off. I'll take the gun I'll have it in the car. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to. I want to get that first longbeard down with the bow.
I kind of went on a rampage after that episode last year, and I ended up killing 4 toms after that with the shotgun.
Nice. How many turkeys can you kill up there?
As many tags as you want to buy.
Really?
You could buy 20 tags and kill 20 turkeys. You can buy, as long as there's tags available for the season that you're hunting, you can buy 1 tag a day.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, they got it split up into you got 6 weeks to hunt, and your tag's good for 7 days. And like zone 3 here where I live, there's usually leftover tags for the last 2 seasons of hunting. So up until that time, I mean, until they're sold out, you can buy 1 tag a day.
That's awesome. We can only kill 1 turkey here in Indiana. Killed 2 down in Kentucky where I go down there. Michigan's only 1 as well. I'm never used to having that kind of. I'd be turkey hunting every day.
I know that's what's kind of screwed up my deer hunting. I say I don't have any time to scout this year. I got so big into turkey hunting, and you can go out there and I mean, what was it, 20? I mean, you shoot a turkey and like, well, I want to keep hunting today. You get on your phone and whoop, there's tags available. You buy another one. You throw the turkey in the truck and away you go.
That's awesome.
I've seen the Breaking Point guys. I watched their turkey hunts. They've done that. They went out, shot one, jumped on their phone, bought another tag, and throw that one in the truck and go right back after another one.
That's awesome.
I think it was 20. What year was it? 2021. I had 2 toms. I actually went and hunted. I usually hunt. I got a couple different properties that I got permission to turkey hunt. And I went back to one of my old public land spots. Me and Tim were out running around on it. We didn't see any turkeys on this spot. I'm like, God, this used to be such a good spot. I mean, I just got to, get back out here and try it. I hadn't tried it in like, 5 years in this spot. And I got out there and, got settled into my spot where I'd always hunted. And you could tell somebody else had been hunting there because the tree that I sat up against, not that year, but, like a year prior, they had, cut the branches off. You could see where they had sawed the branches off so they could get up in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've in the field on some VPA land. So, the spot wasn't a secret. And anyways, I got in there and I turned the camera on at first light and I thought, well, I'll do some calling and, if anything gobbles, at least I'll have the audio and the sun coming up when he lets loose. And I let out a few yelps and that turkey literally gobbled right up. The first thing I reached over and I grabbed the view screen and I turned it down because I figured that turkey's looking right down at me and he's seeing that camera screen glowing down there. And anyways, I mean, he sounded like he was right above me.
That's awesome. I bet that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up a little bit.
And then it sounded like he pitched down and like landed over here. And then at first light, it was actually, there was 2 turkeys. There was another one that gobbled over, this way from me. I thought this was the turkey here. It pitched down and gobbled over there, but actually it was a turkey over there gobbled. And these 2 toms walked out. And I mean, I'm sitting there with a shotgun. They're out there 30 yards and I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to let this happen. And I let them go out there and they, danced around the decoys. I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to, watch the show. And I must have got 10 minutes of footage while they're out there beating up them decoys.
That's awesome.
And the one was strutting the whole time. The other one was just kind of watching. And after 10 minutes, I got time to shoot them. And then the footage actually kind of turned out crappy because I was up shooting and they're moving around. And, I just got the shot on the corner of the camera. I should have had it zoom back a little bit. But after I shot that turkey, the other one, he just stood there and kind of ran out in the field. And, he stood out there gobbling his head off. And I'm thinking I could do just like I've seen other guys do. I could jump on my phone here. I could point the camera at my phone, show me, buying a tag after I just killed this turkey. Tag purchase were legal, throw my phone in my pocket, and I could shoot the next one.
That's awesome.
But
Uh,
I was like, whatever, I got one, that's good enough. So I just, left the other one, left him alone till the following year.
right. Well, buddy, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. It's been an awesome conversation. I always love hearing Wisconsin deer talk.
Yeah,
One of these days, maybe we can hook up there somewhere, have you come down here and do some filmed hunts and stuff.
yeah. I said that'd be fun, and you could do another podcast. Maybe just pick one topic and kind of stick to that and break it down.
For sure,
I said
yeah.
you could pick mock scrapes, you could pick trail cameras, whatever you want to talk about. I could go on and on and on for a solid hour about how I do it and why I do it.
For sure, yeah. I'll definitely have you back on the show. Maybe if you get a long beard down, we can do a Spring Thunder episode and have you talk about your turkey hunt, and we can dive deep in some of that turkey talk.
I had a couple things written down here to maybe touch on. Like we didn't even get into trail cameras. I mean, me and my trail
Right.
cameras, I'm crazy about them trail cameras, especially the cell cameras. I kind of treat my cell cameras like I would compare it to how people treat ground blinds. They'll put a ground blind out there for deer hunting. And, they get it out there weeks in advance and they brushed it in. I'm the same thing with my trail cameras. I put my trail cameras out there where I'm going to get the best intel on the best buck in the area. But then again, you don't want that camera sitting out in the woods scaring the best buck out of the area.
For
So,
sure.
I get real creative with my trail cam setups, and I brush them in as best as I can, and so that camera's not even there.
Right. That's cool, buddy. Tell everybody where they can find you out on social media and follow Tenacious Hunter.
Yeah, we Facebook and Instagram. That's probably where we post our most up to date content. I like I said before, I would like to post more videos on YouTube, but I don't have the time. If I wasn't so picky, I'd probably have the time. If I just threw a video together, but I'm a perfectionist. It's got to be perfect, or I'm not putting it on there.
Right.
So I say we got our YouTube channel. We got some really good hunts on there from the past. Where I met you on Go Wild.
Yep.
That's kind of new for me. I think I started that back August of last year.
It's a great platform.
I've been keeping up on that because I think we're kind of headed down the road to where the hunting stuff isn't going to be allowed on the normal social media platforms. I think there's going to be the day down the road where we're going to need stuff like Go Wild.
For sure. Yeah, I put a video together on TikTok the other day. Great video. Didn't show anything crazy, and I mean that. I literally didn't put anything crazy on there, and they got banned in the first 10 minutes it was on there. And I didn't even do it. The only thing I could think of is we were fishing, and my buddy pulled a walleye up out of the water, and it was just like a 0.2 seconds of a clip, and they've said that I violated community guidelines somehow.
I've been getting into the TikTok because that's where everybody's at right now.
For sure, for sure.
If you want to get your content out there, TikTok's the place to be because that's everybody's watching. And I'm on a 30-day something or other right now because I've burned all 3 of my strikes on there. Did you watch the one I put this morning of me reaping the turkey?
Yeah. That was an awesome one.
That one I got kicked. That one got deleted off TikTok when I first posted it this morning. Because at the end of it's the same videos that's on there right now. It's the same everything, but at the end of the video, I had a picture of me sitting next to the turkey I killed, and then the reaper decoy. Kind of showing because you can't really tell in that TikTok video what I'm crawling behind.
Right.
So I had a picture of me and my turkey and the reaper decoy, and I think that's what got me nailed there.
Yeah.
So I took that picture off the back, and all this other one survived so far.
Right. Well, everybody, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere else you can find us, give us a rate and review, like the episode, share with your friends. If you're on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button for us, and we'll see you again here next week.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, buddy.